All right, I've got to try to remember all this. Preparing for court, go back for 4 more days for trial in February. Now, Judge Delaquist, he has been biased against me. Same with Judge McClellan before he retired, and then it took over by Judge Hackett for a while. And she ruled against me on and granted a 9-day protection order on nothing whatsoever other than the Department of Social Development being discriminatory against me about for medical reasons. They asked for my medical records. And because I didn't show up on May 10th with my medical records, they falsely documented in their affidavits that I didn't show up for a permanency planning meeting, and that's not true. On May 10th, there was no protection order in place. They didn't make an application for a protection order until May 23rd. On May 22nd, my children weren't brought to me, and I was unable to pick them up in compliance with the court order for custody and access. So when I called to report this to the RCMP, Constable John Galloway called Department of Social Development, and Department of Social Development told him the protection order went in place as of May 10th. They lied to him, and I have that conversation recorded. So on May 23rd, to cover their asses, they made an application for emergency protection order. And the 90-day protection order was granted subsequently by Judge Hackett. They had no reason to make an application for a protection order. This was completely retaliatory. They were covering for the social worker that told the mother to keep the children from me in direct violation of a court order for custody and access. And when I called the RCMP to report this court-ordered violation, they called to investigate. They did their job. And they were lied to by the province of New Brunswick Department of Social Development. So that's when the province started to fabricate and commit fraud to cover up for Cassie McDougall, social worker. Now, Judge Delaquist, he's already expressed bias towards me. And Deborah Hackett is biased towards me, and I'm going to play with the recording of the conversation I had with my lawyer, Jonathan Martin, who told me, yeah, she's against you. It doesn't matter if you have evidence to show she was wrong, she made a wrong decision, she's never going to acknowledge it. So I'm going to play that conversation publicly for everyone to hear. Now, Judge Delaquist is of the same thing. Twice I made applications for an emergency protection order under the Intimate Partner Violence Act. The first time it was not granted because the adjudicator, Brian Maud, didn't deem it an emergency situation. And because he didn't deem it an emergency situation and an emergency intervention order was not issued, I had to make a second application 2 weeks later. And this one was granted by adjudicator Boucher. And it was served on Danique Edgett by James Galloway of the Granby Westfield Detachment of the RCMP. So in court, I told Judge Delaquist that I was the victim of intimate partner violence. He said, well, no, you're not. That was thrown out. Okay, it was thrown out. So now there's affidavits by Cassie McDougall, Elena Woodley, Kim Marr, Marissa Brown, all work for the Department of Social Development. I think Pam Cole has an affidavit in there as well. And this is part of the evidence being used for an emergency protection order. But if you look at the findings of all four of those investigations, previous investigations I was a subject of, it said they were all closed as being unsubstantiated. So why is Judge Delaquist taking them into account? And why did Judge Deborah Hackett take it into account when she granted a 90-day protection order against me? They granted a 90-day protection order against me because I didn't show up May 10th with my medical records. So Judge Hackett ordered me to provide access to my medical records, and I did. I signed a form granting access to my medical records. You know what they did? They never got them. It's not in the file. because it doesn't support their narrative. What they're looking is for grounds on which to keep my children from me or intervene in a protective manner. And they are making claims against me. So what they have done is made fraudulent and defamatory claims against me in their affidavits. And this is the road I'll have to take afterwards to sue all the parties involved in the agencies for the false, misleading, and defamatory remarks, which is, it's a civil tort of fraudulent misrepresentation because they presented only one side of the story in court. And that was the side to cover up their negligence.